we stand, in God we trust. There is no fear. United we stand, in God we trust. There is no fear. United we stand, in God we trust. There is no fear. There is no fear. There is no fear. There is no fear.
There is no fear. No way, not here. It is time. It is finally time for a brand spanking new episode of Nall or Nuthin. I'm your host, Jason Nall. Glad to be with you again this week. Whether you're joining us on your FM dial on 101.3 The Buzz in Cleveland, Tennessee, where we air every Thursday during drive time, afternoon drive time, I might add, or on WNWS TV at WNWS.com, or maybe on our YouTube channel. That's Nall, Nallor, Nuthin, Nuthin. Just search that and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Anyway, you've caught us. We're glad you're here because we're going to get you ready for tournament basketball. That's right, NCAA tournament basketball. We'll start with the conference tournaments. We got the mid majors going at it this week, looking for their automatic berth to the NCAA tournament. And then most of the big boys, they'll get started next week. By this time next week, SEC, ACC, Big 12, Pac 12, all the Big Ten, everybody else will be knee deep in tournament basketball as we barrel toward March Madness. Here it is already. Turn the calendar page off of February on to March. Man, oh man, oh man, did February go fast. I'll tell you who was missing in February. It was that Big Daddy C1000. He slipped down below the border down there into Peru. We posted lots of pictures of Big Daddy C living his best life, his absolute best life in Peru. Big Daddy C, welcome back to the program. How was Peru?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good to be back. It's definitely a different place. I had a lot of fun. We went to a real nice resort. It was kind of like being on a cruise ship. Everything you wanted to eat and drink, and it was nice. We went there 5 days, and then we went to her hometown in the very bottom of Peru for the rest of the time, about 12 days, and spent a little time on the beach. So it was a good time, but I'm always ready to come home.
So, how long did it take you to get down there and to get back? It was lots of hard travel, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's tough deal getting there because out of Memphis don't offer a whole lot of flights. You always got to stop at least once to get to Lima, and then going to her town, you got to get on another plane. So it's that best case scenario, about 18 hours to get there or get back, and worst case, sometimes up in the high 20s, and that's what it was coming back. It was about 28 coming back.
So, y'all went to that beach resort. I saw lots of pictures there. Is that where you were for the Super Bowl out there on the northern resort there in Peru?
Yeah, I watched the Super Bowl there at the resort. It was a real nice place. I mean, it had a pool that was probably 3 football fields big. It was awesome and real nice kept and good food. Yeah, it was a nice place.
What about action? Were you able to find any action there? Did they have any sports books for you?
No, you were pretty much out in the middle of nowhere. You went about 2 hours away from the biggest town around, and then you went down a little dirt road, and there it was. So you were out in the middle of nowhere in this resort.
So you got them to turn the soccer off long enough to watch the Super Bowl, though, at the bar.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to end up getting the football game on in my room, and I watched it by myself in the room, and it was really a good game. I didn't have any action either way, so it really didn't matter to me. I was kind of personally pulling for the Eagles because that's who I'd put out as my pick, but it didn't surprise me that the Chiefs came back. I knew it could have gone either way. Good game though.
Well, you know that I won our four-way bet between me, you, Bodacious BB, and Badlands Brandon. And I won because I was the smartest one. When it came time for the drafts, I said, I want the last pick. I'll let you guys pick between the final four, and I'll take whoever's left. And y'all left me with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Winner, winner, ching, ching, ching. Nice steak dinner on you boys.
Yeah, I don't know that we could credit you as being a good picker as much as we were all just bad pickers.
I'm a good
Yeah,
picker.
we just
I knew to sit back, let you guys throw it out there. I knew it was the best four teams in the NFL, and I knew y'all screwed up somehow, and you did, and I won.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't blame BB. He had the first pick. He took the Eagles. That would have been a sensible pick. Myself, I think I had the second pick and picked the Cincinnati, which was a mistake. I easily could have just took the Chiefs. And then I think the worst pick of all was Badlands. He had the third pick and he picks the Niners. My third pick definitely wouldn't have been the Niners. So had I picked third and he had taken Cincinnati, you would have been left with the Niners because that would have been my very last pick. But
Well,
congratulations. I hope everybody paid you.
yeah, I've been settled up. Everything's all good. I've already been to Ruth Chris and had a really, really nice one of those char grilled uh, New York strips over there. They cook in that 550-degree oven for about 2 minutes, and it comes out red on the inside, black on the outside, nice and charred. I added the mushrooms. I got me a bottle of wine. I got the potatoes for lyonnaise for the table, some good bread, some asparagus, all on you boys. So again, sometimes you don't have to be the best picker. You just have to get out of the way and let you guys stumble all over yourselves. And that's what I did with our Final Four action of the NFL. I knew it was tough. I figured you guys would screw it up somehow, and you did. But you're right.
Yeah.
Badlands pick on the third choice on San Francisco. That was a little rough. Thinking that Purdy was going to go box to wire and never lose a game uh, as a last pick of the draft. That would have been my last pick of the four.
Yeah, you got very fortunate there that he made that awful mistake. Purdy had a great run, and I do think he'll be a successful quarterback and win many more games. But was he going to win 12 in a row with them being a championship game and a Super Bowl? No, probably not. Awful pick on the 49ers. They should have been left for last, and that's who you should have had.
Yeah, you're right. I should have had him, but I didn't. I got Patrick Mahomes, who nobody wanted. I guess there was a fear of the injury going into that game against the Bengals, and but boy, did he put on his Superman cape in both those games, the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. And Mahomes, the MVP, wins his second Super Bowl and his second Super Bowl in 4 years. All right, we're going to grab our first break. You have caught Nall or Nuthin. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. I'm your host, Jason Nall, and this is Nall or Nuthin, the show about sports through the lens of legalized sports gambling. Right here in the state of Tennessee, you better get your apps loaded up and get ready for this March Madness as NCAA basketball. Man, it's an exciting time of year, Big Daddy. You know I love the brackets. We went to Vegas 2 years ago for March Madness. That was a great trip. We're gonna have to do that again sometime. But I love that bracket madness. I get in those bracket pools. I like to get in the DraftKings Survivor, which I won last year. So March Madness is my favorite time of year. What do you think? You excited?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no better time if you're a sports fan because starting on Thursday morning, 2 weeks from today, it'll be starting at 10 o'clock in the morning, just depending on what time zone you are, and go till midnight. And it'll do the same thing Friday and most of that day Saturday and most of that day Sunday. It's just a great time, basketball all day.
Yeah, I used to save my sick days when I was working for the man so I could be off on Thursday or Friday in March Madness. I can even remember as a kid calling in sick to school so I could watch March Madness. I've just loved it my whole life. It's one of the greatest spectacles in sport. That is for darn sure. So we're gonna get to that in just a minute. The March Madness is upon us. as we start our conference tournaments and head toward the NCAA tournament. But first, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Since we last met, the good, I'm going to Creed 3, which will be in theaters this Friday. I can't tell you how happy I am that there is a Creed 3. I mean, this is still the Rocky franchise. Rocky put out 6 movies, Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Rocky Balboa, and then began with Creed 1, Creed 2, and now Creed 3. I love it. There is nothing more American than Rocky Balboa. I mean, if you tell me I'm 51 years old and the first Rocky movie I ever saw, Big Daddy C, was at the drive-in in Blytheville, Arkansas in 1978. And here we are, what's that, 22, 43 years later, and we're still getting movies from the Rocky franchise. I love it. I love it. Now, the Creed 2, I don't know if you haven't seen it, Big Daddy C, you got to go see Creed 2. It was great. Creed is Apollo Creed's son, and he fought Drago's son from Rocky Four, who killed Apollo in Rocky Four in the ring. He fought him in Creed 2, and now we got Creed 3 coming out. And my kids, Hayden came to me and said, "You know what we're doing Friday night?" Unfortunately, I'm not going to be here. Normally, we go and see these Rocky movies on opening night, and we usually go to the theater. But a new generation, an 11-year-old, excited about Creed 3. I love it. The good Rocky is still alive. You seen those Creed movies, Big Daddy C?
Well, I hate to rain on your parade, but I don't think I've seen any of them. So no, and I'm not very interested in Creed. Don't think I will. I think I saw maybe Rocky 1 and maybe Rocky 2, and that was about it. I haven't seen much after that. So
Oh my God, what a weekend you have in store. Just lock in and let's watch the whole Rocky franchise. Just start with one again and run it straight through all 9 of them, man. All 9 of them. You gotta watch them if you hadn't seen them. My Lord. I mean, there are very few things that'll move me to tears like a Rocky movie. My gosh, I love those Rocky movies. And now we get Creed 3 in theaters this Friday. And for me, and my family, that is the good. The bad, Aaron Rodgers. Hello, darkness, my old friend. So Rodgers, who's kookier than Don Knotts, is now out there, and he did a darkness retreat, Big Daddy. See, this is while you were in Peru. You might have missed this, but Aaron Rodgers said he couldn't decide his fate. Would he return to Green Bay? Would he ask to be traded into a different situation with another NFL team, or would he retire? Well, this is the same thing we've heard for years now at the end of the season, always leaving Green Bay in the lurch to figure out what Rodgers is going to do, even after they gave him a 3-year, $180 million contract at the end of last season. He has to go to a 4-day darkness retreat in solitude in remote southern Oregon. He comes out of the darkness retreat and he says, "I'm close to a decision." What the hell was Aaron Rodgers doing in that cave for 4 days, Big Daddy? See, all he had to decide is, do I want to take $60 million guaranteed next year in Green Bay or not? How hard a decision is that?
well, I can just tell you, it's obvious. I mean, you could be blind and see that he's unhappy in Green Bay. He's been unhappy the last 2 years. So I think it's pretty much a given that he's going to leave Green Bay. And the money, I don't think it's necessarily number one to him. I'm sure he wants to get back on top and win another Super Bowl. He's got plenty of money, and no matter where he goes, he's going to get plenty of money there also. So I think he's unhappy in Green Bay, and I do not think he'll be there next year.
Well, what about this darkness retreat? I mean, that's some Kyrie Irving level stuff right there. The world is flat. Have you ever heard of a darkness retreat where you go in solitude into the darkness like that?
No, I can't say that I've really heard of that, but he is kind of out there. He's kind of a flaky guy, in my opinion. But maybe it's just trying to get his head right and really collect his thoughts. And not have that phone ringing and bothering him all day, and his wife screaming and yelling at him, and the kids barking at him, or whatever, distractions he has. So maybe he just needed that time. But I'm thinking that time was made and his decision is made, and I do not think he will be in Green Bay.
Well, his wife ain't barking at him because he's never been married at 40 years old and he doesn't have any kids. So, unlike the rest of us, where we would mull it over with our family possibly after a long, hard season, Rogers grabs a bag of mushrooms and heads into a damp, dark cave somewhere in remote southern Oregon. The bad, that kooky Aaron Rodgers, and the way he leads Green Bay to all season of despair now, seemingly every year. And the ugly. This was very ugly and very close to home for your host, Jason Nall. I drove the family. Well, let me get back up a little bit. Christmas, I surprised the family with a gift of Lower Bowl nice tickets to the Arkansas Tennessee basketball game. And at Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville. And those of you who follow Nall or Nuthin know that I'm a Razorback through and through. Went to school, University of Arkansas. I've been a fan all my whole life, and I live right here near Knoxville, so I try to go see my Hogs play when they're nearby in Knoxville. So spent some pretty good coin, Big Daddy, to get those lower bowl tickets for 5 of us to go to the Thompson Bowling Arena and watch Arkansas and Tennessee. Well, first off, the game for TV doesn't start till 9 o'clock Eastern. So I got an 11-year-old, I got a college age daughter, I got my working wife and my older son and me all up there at, dark 30 trying to get parked and get into this game. We get in, we do have good seats. It's senior night, so they do all the senior night stuff with the players there. It's probably 9:20 when it starts. And then from the opening tip on, the first 2 points were scored by Tennessee, and Tennessee never trailed. They absolutely blew the doors off a lapsadaisical Arkansas team, won by 20. It really wasn't that close. They won both halves. This Arkansas roster is so ugly, full of 5-star talent. I mean, I was brimming with excitement coming into this season. So much confidence. I bet the Hogs win a national championship and wished I could have had more money to tie up in that early in the season. I thought they might go undefeated with all the talent that Musselman had coming in because I knew how great a coach Muss is. These 5 stars cannot shoot the basketball, Big Daddy. See, they can't shoot it at all. They had 16 turnovers last night against a tough Tennessee defense, but come on. You're supposedly got first rounders handling the ball for Arkansas, and you have 16 turnovers. They shoot 64% in free throws for the year. That's pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. Reminds me of those Memphis teams Calipari had with all the athleticism but couldn't shoot a free throw. And in the last 2 games, Big Daddy, see, the last 2 games in the paint against Tennessee last night, Alabama the game before where Arkansas blew a double-digit lead, they've been outscored 76-40 in the paint, and they only scored 18 points in the paint last night. It was just misery sitting there in a sea of orange on senior night, and my Hogs couldn't even get it going. I mean, Tennessee fans, they didn't give me a hard time. It was like they felt sorry for me in my Arkansas Red there. Ugly, ugly game. Just physically whipped Big Daddy. He lost 75-57. We got home to my house down here in Cleveland about 1:45 a.m. after just seeing the Hogs get shellacked. Did you watch that one on TV?
No, I had just gotten back earlier that morning. I hit the bed by 9 o'clock Eastern time. I was wiped out, but yeah, that's got to be depressing. You spend a good chunk of money, you go up there to watch your team. You never can cheer from them, not from the opening tip off, and then you stay up till 2 in the morning. I mean, that's just an ugly situation there. But yeah, the Hogs have let a lot of people down. We have another buddy, Bully, and he was high on the Hogs, telling me how they got such great players and they're going to be so good, but they just haven't put it together. I don't know. Maybe they can maybe they can turn it around and get something going by conference time. But like you say, if you can't shoot the ball from the outside, which is today's game in the NBA and college, if you can't do that, you're not winning many games. So I think it's a tough year for them, and they might win a game or so, but I wouldn't look for them to go very far. I think you got a losing ticket with them winning the tournament.
Well, they came off of two Elite Eight appearances in a row under Musselman. Total rebuild here of the roster from last year, but it was a total rebuild last year from the year before. But they got two Elite Eights in a row, had all these 5 stars coming in, 3 5 stars freshmen, and then a bevy of talent in the transfer portal. But it's just been like an explosion in the chemistry lab. There's no chemistry at all of this team. Nobody can score, including Nick Smith Jr., who was out hurt a lot. But last night, I don't know, he had under 10 points and played significant minutes. He's supposed to be a top 5 pick. You got Anthony, you got AB, the point guard for the Hogs, Anthony Black, and he's turned the ball over all night long. He's a 6'10" point guard, supposed to be a first round pick after his freshman year. These guys, they don't look like the future of the NBA. They don't look like the future of the SEC to me. It's just been rough. The Mitchell twins who came in the portal just get dominated in the paint, and nobody can make a free throw or an outside shot. They're on the bubble, the Hogs. They say they're in, but barely in, and it doesn't matter whether they beat Kentucky this Saturday or not to end the season. But I don't know. I guess those guys that do this bracketology know better than me. But this Arkansas team, they don't look like deserving of the NCAA tournament to me at this moment. Just a mess, ugly for the Hogs in basketball. Maybe just maybe somehow Muss will find that March magic again this year. But we're in March, and we were in March yesterday, and the Hogs are ugly. Okay, one more break, and we'll come right back, and we'll continue the basketball talk. You've got Big Daddy C1000 and your host Jason Nall right here with you on Nall or Nothing. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's Nall or Nothing. It's Thursday, and it is drive time in Cleveland, Tennessee. If you've caught us on your FM dial, 101.3 The Buzz, we welcome you. Maybe you're watching us on WNWS TV at WNWS.com or on our YouTube channel. That's Nall, Nallor, Nothing, Nuthin. Just search that on YouTube and like and subscribe. Nall or Nothing is brought to you by Advanced Merchant Services. Business owners, if you're tired of paying those outrageous credit card fees, call me, Jason Nall, 423-424-8002. That's 423-424-8002. I can help you find the right solution to save money on each and every credit card transaction that your business takes. Call the AMS. Call me. Call Jason Nall. Big Daddy C over there in Peru. I mean, NCAA basketball, college basketball, it's not even a blip on the radar, right? I mean, that's truly an American passion there. It's not catching much traction down by the equator, is it?
No, absolutely not. You're hard pressed to ever find college basketball on the TV. Now, NBA is a lot more popular. You do see NBA probably twice a week. There's shows, maybe even 3 times a week. You catch them on ESPN sometimes, but yeah, college you never hear much about that. No.
What happened in that Auburn Alabama game last night? How'd that finish up?
Well, I think Alabama ended up winning. They were down. They had a great comeback. I know that. I was watching it, and they were down by 18, and it went to overtime, and they got up by 6 or 8, and I turned it off. So I'm assuming they won, but I'm checking right now as we speak. But that was a pretty amazing comeback. I was thinking Auburn had got them, but no,
Well,
yeah, I see it. Alabama finished them off 90-85. So that was a great comeback by Alabama.
Auburn, one of the teams that needed a late season quad four marquee win to secure their place in the NCAA tournament. They missed that opportunity, so now it's going to come down to how well Auburn can probably do and how deep they can go in the SEC basketball tournament. Um, big news around here while you were gone, Big Daddy C, Alabama, and they had a player that is facing murder charges, murdering a young lady in Tuscaloosa, and one of their 5-star starters, it turns out, brought him the gun that night that he used to kill the young lady, or allegedly kill the young lady in Tuscaloosa. And he has not been the one who brought the gun, has not been suspended by Alabama, still playing in every game. There's a bit of a black cloud over an otherwise uh, really talented Alabama team that has the guard play that can go deep in the tournament. Did you hear about that stuff?
I think that was happening right when I left. I didn't know that the one guard, the 5-star, had gotten him the gun. But wow, how are they still letting that guy play? If he was the one that got him the gun, you would think that would be a no brainer. You give a gun to somebody, you shoot somebody. Wow, you should be held a little bit accountable for that. That's kind of surprising to hear that.
It's very surprising. Alabama coach kind of shrugged it off as, kids making dumb decisions, but they shouldn't be punished the rest of their life. What about the girl who's punished with no life? I mean, it's incredible that he's playing, and it looks to me like Alabama said, "Hey, we want so badly to be relevant in basketball that we just don't give a damn. We're going to do what we have to do to win." It's really been a head scratcher and not a good look for the Crimson Tide. Let's talk about the last four in this tournament right now in the NCAA brackets. Mississippi State at a record of 20-10 is considered to be one of the last four in. They probably need to hold that position with at least a win in the SEC tournament. Wisconsin, them and Michigan, two Big Ten teams in the last four in, and then West Virginia in the Big 12 in the last four in. So those are teams that are hanging on by their fingernails trying to get in the NCAA tournament. Then you got your first four out: Oklahoma State and Penn State. North Carolina, who made such a huge run to the national championship last year, and actually are the reason I won the DraftKings Survivor Pool. Big win they had over Duke in the Final Four. They're on the outside looking in right now, a historic program, as is Arizona State. What surprises you most about those eight there? The last four in or first four out, Big Daddy C?
Well, you know, I'm not sure either one of them surprised me. I mean, there's still a lot to go. We got this weekend, and then we got the tournament, so there's going to be a lot to change in those last four in and last four out. So I don't know. None of them really surprised me too much. I believe that we're going to have a lot to change here in the next week, and then we might see a surprise. But nothing I think is set right yet, and nothing's too surprising right now to me.
Yeah, if Hubert Davis's squad from North Carolina doesn't get in after the run they had last year in the postseason, that would be surprising to me. But like you say, there's time. They can still play their way in, and they're just barely out right now. March Madness has started with the conference tournaments and the mid majors. Most of these mid major teams, you have to win your conference tournament to get a bid. Only the automatic bid from that conference goes. The leagues that are playing right now: Big Daddy C, America East, Atlantic Sun, Big Sky, Big South, Colonial Athletic, Horizon League, Missouri Valley, Northeast, Ohio Valley, Patriot League, Southern Conference, Southland Conference, Summit Conference, Sun Belt, and West Coast Conference, all playing their conference tournaments as we speak. Uh, More people know, I would say, about this West Coast Conference than any of the rest because of Gonzaga and their just reign on supremacy and their just incredible run over the last 2.5 decades now. It used to be Gonzaga was thought of as the underdog, and now, you're wondering, are they going to be a one seed? Doesn't look like they're going to be a one seed this year. 25-5 overall for Gonzaga, and they lost the regular season West Coast Conference Championship to that St. Mary's of California team that I just love. They got Aiden Mahaney, the freshman guard, and just a very talented team that really works together well and could be a big tournament run here. That's the kind of the marquee conference playing this week. What do you think? Is Gonzaga going to win that conference tournament? They've won it every year for the last 20 some odd years. Or St. Mary's going to beat them in the conference tournament just like they did in the regular season?
Yeah, I would say that's probably safe to say it's going to be one of those two. You're probably not stretching out too far on that. And you like that St. Mary's. I know that's your dark horse in the tournament, and they beat them already this year. So I maybe have to lean towards St. Mary's, although I think both of them are still ranked in the top 20, and both of them are cinched to get there, whether they win or lose. So I think they're both in, and I don't think either one, has to win. But if I have to pick one, I'm going to pick St. Mary's. I'm going to take your pick, and I'll ride it with the point guard that you say is so good. I can't remember his name. You've told me. Do you remember?
Mahaney, Aiden Mahaney.
Yep, Hayden Mahaney. Yep. So I maybe will watch that game. Well, that'll be this Sunday.
Yeah, they make that finals will be. No, I think it'll be Saturday night, late night. So we'll be together down in New Orleans, and maybe we'll catch that one Saturday night, late night before we head back. Uh, Speaking of
Yeah,
New
we'll
Orleans,
definitely.
Big Daddy, see, we haven't told our listeners yet that we're heading to the Big Easy. It's been a little while for you. I've actually been down there in the last week. Had a death in the family and taking care of some family business in New Orleans, and I appreciate you going to help me with some of that this weekend. But how long has it been since you've been to the Big Easy?
Wow, it's been probably in about the 6 year range. I think me and my wife went for about a 3 day trip about 6 years ago. Before that, it's probably been maybe 10 years ago. But I think the last time me and you were together in the Big Easy was when our friend's wedding. What was probably what 15 to maybe, yeah, about 15, 16 years ago, maybe.
What, Tiger's wedding?
Tiger. Well, we were there for both of that family's wedding, but
Oh,
yes,
and
I think Tiger's was
Tiger
the second.
Brad. Tigers was second and Brad's was first.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's probably maybe that was the last time we were there together. But looking forward to hitting some of those spots we used to hit in our 20s. 20s. That's
Oh yeah.
a lifetime ago. But yeah, gonna head back down to the Big Easy for a couple of days. Maybe take a peek at the fairgrounds. We'll just see how things roll, huh?
Yeah, now that's been a long, long time since I've been there. I would enjoy that. That would probably be a fun stop. And if not, we also got that big place right there in the center, right across from Bourbon Street, the old Harris. I think is probably still there. So we got that if we decide to go that route. But if that championship game is Saturday night, that'll be fun. We can find a good place to watch it and maybe try to get a little action on it, and that would
Yeah,
be fun.
that'd be fun. Maybe we hit that oyster bar and grill down there at Jackson Square where everybody used to work a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it maybe it's changed, but it wasn't a late night place back then. It closed about 9 or 10. We might
Uh,
have to find one of the other little places that maybe stays open a little later.
I bet we can find something down there in the French Quarter that stays open a little later. All right, so
Yeah, I
we
just
this weekend. One trend here it is. Gonzaga is 22-1 straight up over the last 22 years. I'm sorry, since 2014, Gonzaga is 22-1 straight up, 15-8 against the spread with 8 out of 9 championships in the West Coast Conference. I sure hope that St. Mary's and Gonzaga make it to that final game. That will be entertaining for us on Saturday night. Another team that's looking to punch their tickets. Southern Miss having a hell of a year. 25-6 overall, 14-4 in the conference. But a hell of a year is not good enough for the Sun Belt. You got to win your conference tournament to get in. So maybe Southern Miss can get that handled. The favorite over in the Summit League, Oral Roberts, they're a name you see in the NCAA tournament quite a bit. They're undefeated in conference play. You remember those Jackrabbits from South Dakota State last year? Big Daddy, see, everybody loved them. They were a trendy pick in the first round, and they got beat. But they're going to have to win their conference tournament to get in there again. Anybody in any of these smaller leagues that you're following that you'd be interested in making a pick on in one of these conference tournaments?
No, I don't really follow many of the smaller leagues, but I can tell you that Gonzaga is on a 6 game win streak for what that's worth. So if you're a
Yeah,
street player, maybe you just play that one to continue.
yeah. I think Gonzaga's last loss was at St. Mary's, and that was a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. One team that I can tell you that I would love to see get to the NCAA tournament because I think they might could shock a couple of people is this Cleveland State team. They're 19-12 on the season. They're a 3 seed in the Horizon. Um, they have a great record against the spread. They're around 70%. But defensively, they're one of the top defensive teams in the country. And a good defensive team come tournament time has a chance. But they're going to have to win their conference championship to get into the NCAA tournament. If they do, that might be one I might take a flyer on, at least catching the points. But they got a long way to go, too. So this week, we'll have the conference tournaments and the mid majors. And next week, we'll talk about the big conferences. Um, the SEC looks like Alabama to me, but I'll tell you who's woke up after getting drummed by Arkansas and Georgia back to back, and that's Kentucky. You give Kentucky any chance in this SEC championship?
Well, I hate to tell you, but I think last night Kentucky got beat by Vandy.
Did they?
So I'm
Well,
almost sure. Yeah.
they went back to sleep again. They already gotten high. It's been a weird year. Outside of Bama, it's not been so consistent. I missed some games last night because I was at that Arkansas game late, and I didn't realize Kentucky got beat. But there you go. And then Tennessee, Zakai Ziegler, one of their great scorers, he went down on a non-contact injury in the Arkansas game last night, blew his knee out. Unfortunately, he's out for all of this season and possibly next season. Uh, I'm not. I'm not going to take Tennessee very far this year, and I took them a long way last year, and they let me down. This might be the year to get on them when nobody expects them to do well. They've struggled in the SEC.
Yeah, I think I'll flip you on that one. Just if you don't take them to go very far, I think I will. I definitely one I think I don't think take very far will be Kentucky. I just don't think they've been consistent enough. Uh, but one that I'm surprised that had a bad February that when I came back I noticed was at Purdue. I was high on them. I was ready to take them to win the tournament at lower odds, but I'm glad I didn't because they've lost, I think, like 3 out of their last 4, so I'm sure I can get a lot better odds. They've dropped all the way from number 1 down to about number 5 today. So that's one that's not running as good or playing as good right now as they did earlier in the year. But that was my pick. That big tall center, man, that guy is awesome. He's just dominant. I don't know what's happened the last few. Maybe they've kind of figured out ways to slow him down. But Purdue was one I was really high on, and I guess I'll stay on them in just a little bit better odds now, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think they would probably get it together. We'll keep a good eye on them in their conference tournament next week. A team that I'm interested in to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament is Texas. They had the turmoil with their head coach, who had the domestic abuse charges against him in December. The team ended up letting him go in January. They made their interim the permanent coach, or at least I believe they made him the permanent coach last month, and they're playing good. They kind of got it back together again now. They were a top 10 team earlier in the season. I think they might could go a pretty good way. I just can't pull for Alabama in their situation right now, playing the guy who brought the gun to his buddy and his buddy killed the young lady in Tuscaloosa. But they have great guards, and they may be a tough out, as does Baylor. If Badlands Brandon was with it, he tells us to watch out for Baylor. And Baylor does still have good guards. They don't play much defense, but they can score. So we'll look at all that next week and get an idea of who we're thinking about using for deep runs or maybe to win the national championship next week. So we're going to catch one more break, and we'll be right back with Nall or Nothing. Welcome back. It's Nall or Nothing. I am joined by Big Daddy C. I'm your host, Jason Nall. We're kind of kicking it around here, talking a little bit about conference tournament basketball, talking about heading down to the Big Easy to have some Nollins food this weekend, maybe catch a horse race or two, maybe even peek in the door over there at Harris. Certainly have a couple of cold beers while we're down there. So, Big Daddy C, NBA, the trade deadline came and went. There were some big trades over the last month. None bigger than Kevin Durant leaving the Nets and Kyrie Irving leaving the Nets. Kyrie lands in Dallas. Kevin Durant lands with the Suns. What does that do, in your mind, to the Western Conference?
Well, I don't think Durant's even going to play. Maybe I don't think he's played since the trade.
Yeah,
I haven't been following really, but I don't know that he.
he played limited minutes last night.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I'm just not a big believer in him. He stays hurt so much, but for some reason, my gut's just telling me that Kyrie Irving is going to work out to some degree. My gut keeps telling me go find them and put them on them to win the NBA title because they got the best player with that Luka, and then if they can just get somebody else to put some points up, and that might be Kyrie if they can just get it together for a few months here. But my gut's telling me take them, at least put some money on them to win it all.
The Mavericks currently in the seventh position in the West, 32-31 on the season. They have lost two in a row, Big Daddy C. So, yeah, the value will never be much higher than it is right now. I wouldn't think on the Mavs to win the West. You could probably get a pretty good little price on those guys. My Nuggets I took before the season. They got a 5.5 game lead. It looks like they will be the one seed in the West. It's a question of can the Nuggets hold off the Grizzlies, the Suns, the Mavs, and maybe even the Warriors and Clippers and get it done for me in the West. I sure would like to see the regular season extrapolate here and Denver make a big run in the playoffs. The Grizzlies have cooled since the All Star break, or really since mid-season. Big Daddy C. Over their last 10, they're 5-5, still in second in the West. 1-2 in a row here, 37-23 overall. What about your Memphis Grizzlies? They're going to be postseason ready?
I don't know. I don't have much faith in them. I mean, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he told me a few games that they had played while I was away and didn't get a watch, and they had big leads in third and fourth quarter and just blew it. When a team's doing that, they're not in winning form. You can't be up big and lose, 10, 12, 14, 18-point leads in the third and fourth quarter. If you're doing that, you're just not a winning team. You just don't have it together. So, yes, I think they'll win a game or two, a series or two, but I do not think they got it all to win the title. So I would not be putting my money on the Grizzlies, although I love Morant. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the NBA, but maybe they just need another year or so. But I'm not looking for the Grizzlies to produce this year.
All right. And finally, we can't talk about the Western Conference without talking about your Lakers. I guess the pinnacle of their season was LeBron breaking the scoring record. I'm not sure he's played since he broke the scoring record. The Lakers currently in 12th place in the West, outside of the playoffs, 29-33 on the season, 5-5 over their last 10. One more time, I'll ask you, Big Daddy C, do the Lakers have it in them to put a run together here to close the season and back into the playoffs?
I'm going to tell you the exact same thing I told you on week one when we previewed the NBA. No way. LeBron is absolutely done. I know he got the scoring title, and people want to say he's the greatest ever. but he's not going to be on a winning title team again in his life. And he's probably not going to be on many more winning teams. He just doesn't have it. I know he still scores a lot, but he's just not as good as the younger guys. And no, they're not going to make a run for it because they're done. He's not even playing anymore. Actually, that'll probably help him not playing. But no, they're done for the season. They're going to wrap it up. They're looking for a better draft pick next year. No, Lakers got no shot, just like I told you in the week preview of the NBA.
All right, over to the East. My preseason bet this year went on the 76ers, and after a sluggish start, they've come on pretty good. 40-21 on the season, sitting in third, 4 games back of the Bucks, who lead at 44-17, and just a half game ahead of the Celtics at 44-18. Cavaliers, upstart, having a good year after making the big moves in the offseason. They're in the 4 hole at 39-25. Knicks, Nets, Heat, Hawks round out the top 8. No real surprises there at all, other than maybe the Nets are in a free fall. They've lost 3 in a row, and they don't have any star power. They may end up falling out. Who knows if they can hang on or not? There'll be a quick exit, I would think, in the playoffs. I know you had some theories around the Nets and the rest of this season before you left. You want to expand on that?
Well, yeah. Um, I thought the Nets would probably at least cover a few going into the playoffs, just simply because they've lost their 2 stars. They were probably going to be underdogs a lot. The guys that came over there were probably going to try a little bit harder. So I thought you maybe take them going into the playoffs. But as I said a few weeks ago, absolutely they're going to be as out so fast in that first round. It's probably going to be a sweep. They just don't have anybody. It was what an awful experience. I mean, they spent all that money to bring all of them there, Harden and Kyrie and I can't never Durant, and next thing you know, a few years later, none of them are there. So I mean, who do you blame there, the GM or who? I mean, but somebody ought to be fired over that deal. Just what a horrible experiment that was. But I look for them to be the fast exit out of the playoffs. One thing I wanted to ask you: did you know that somebody went undefeated for the month of February? Do you know who that was?
The
Don't
Bucks.
look on your computer.
The Bucks.
Yeah, yeah, you
I
cheated.
knew that. Well, I knew they'd won a lot in a row. I just checked; it's 15 in a row now. I did not realize they went undefeated for the month of February. But wow, that's pretty impressive. It's vaulted them to the top of the standings. Uh, so you got to worry when you're playing that good. Do you peak too early? But the Bucks have recently won a championship. They'll probably be okay.
Yeah. Yes, and they won again last night. So yeah, that made it 16 in a row. But wow, I mean, in the East, the Bucks got to be the heavy jumbo favorite. I mean, they're playing good, 16 in a row, undefeated for the month of February. You really got to like the Bucks. But I'm telling you, a team over there in the East that can play is New York. They got a good team. New
Yeah,
York can play, and you mentioned Cleveland. Cleveland's a hard team too. They play hard. So I would have to say that by far, I mean, no question about it. The Bucks are outstanding, overwhelming favorite, maybe closely followed by Boston, but there's a few more teams, Cleveland, New York. I would give them a chance. I mean, those top 4 are all good playing teams.
definitely. My hope is that the 76ers hang where they're at, and the Nets don't lose too many, and they stay where they're at, and I can get a 76ers Nets first round, and that would be kind of a light one for my 76ers to get their playoff feet underneath them. I know they can beat the Nets. But we'll see. Still a month left there, or a little over a month actually, left in the NBA. Still some stuff to unfold, but we're certainly starting to see the trends. And in the East, if you look at it top to bottom, no real surprises. Uh, the Nets may be the biggest surprise, but that's only because they're in free fall mode right now, and they were up there higher in the division when they had their stars. So we'll see how it plays out. Bucks are on fire. That's for darn sure. He's at Big Daddy C1000 on Twitter, at Big Daddy C1000. That's also our Nall or Nothing Twitter handle. You got to follow that Twitter handle. If you don't have Twitter, get you a Twitter account just to follow us. Because when it's not football season, you don't have the line sitting out in front of you for 3 or 4 days, and you're looking at a weekend slate of games. Sometimes it's a little difficult for Big Daddy C and myself to give you winners on the air. But we're going to post them on Twitter. In fact, we'll be together all weekend long down in the Big Easy. We'll be posting some pictures, and we'll post some winners, hopefully, for you on at Big Daddy C1000. Follow us on Twitter. We'll post the basketball plays as we play them. Been a good show. Good to have you back, Big Daddy C. Glad you made it back over the border again. I always worry when you head down south that maybe one day something will go wrong and you won't get back. But you made it back again. I can see you in the friendly confines of Bartlett, Tennessee. But anyway, glad to have you back. It's been a long month without my running buddy, so glad you're back.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good to be back, and I'm looking forward to our weekend in New Orleans. Like I say, everybody follows. We're going to have some good pictures from a few of the establishments down there, and hopefully we'll be able to maybe post some winning tickets or maybe a big stack of chips or something. But follow us, and we'll let you know how our weekend goes.
There you go. For Big Daddy C1000, I'm your host, Jason Nall. You've been listening to Nall or Nuthin, and we are out of here.
I said, united we stand, in God we trust. There is no fear. United we stand, in God we trust. There is no fear. United we stand, in God we trust.